this is Robin from Clouds of Analog, and you're at Popularity.
When you went in to create the album, did you have a vision, or did you just kind of let the pieces fall where they may?
No, the vision has always been strong from the get-go. Although the album sonically turned out different than I had hoped for. But it ended up being something that ended up being totally unique.
How did it turn out differently?
Well, I've always really liked really produced records. I'm not a big fan of that indie sound where it sounds like a drummer's in the room. I really like that overly produced thing, and this record ended up being a blend of those two, which actually turned out great in my favor because it kept the rawness of the album, of the song, it kept the raw of it, but also still allowed for the polished aspect to be there of a highly produced record.
How did you, when you had a collection of songs, know that this was the album?
That's a tough one. The people that I was playing with for the record, I'd played with for years, and we did a lot of live shows, and those ones collectively that are on the record, except for one of them, we had played a lot, and we just all had a lot of emotional investment in the songs. There is one song on the album, which is a track called Wrong, which is the last one, where I wrote that about 10 years ago, and it was always a dream of mine to actually have this one produced and on a record. And so a couple weeks before we actually went into the studio to record the album, we put the song together and then recorded it, like, that quick.
What makes a good song to you, and more specifically, what makes a good lyric?
Well, that has to come pretty biased because we all have our own influences, but I like for depth. I'm a big believer in depth. I don't like, a lot of people like music that is simple and just gets in and gets out, but there's a level of depth and creativity that matters to me. I'm a huge Jim Steinman fan, and I think he's the best songwriter ever, and he writes epic material, and that's what I really like. Something that kind of musically tells a story, has a build, gets very grandiose.
What do you find to be the most difficult part of the creative process?
Lyrics, for sure. Absolutely lyrics. For me, when I write songs, I write the melody first with the instruments, and then I create a melody by just humming or just singing words that are nonsense, and then it's all about picking the correct syllables that actually make the song flow, so there's no static, there's no moments of stopping, so that the lyrics continue flowing with the music properly.
Do you find that when you perform songs that they evolve or change with each time that you play them? Do songs grow?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I write everything on an acoustic guitar, and then it gets transformed when you bring it to your band members, and then it transforms even more when you play it live. And if you rehearse a song over and over and over again, it transforms into its own thing, into its own entity, and that's why rehearsing is so important, because you actually add solidity to the song and make it something versus just like a singer-songwriter type thing where you have people playing with you. But playing live changes the whole thing. You can love a song in rehearsal and you'll go and perform it live and you'll just realize that this is not the song to play live.
What qualities personally to you did these songs share that made you choose to have them make the cut for the album?
Well, the album actually has a theme, and the theme goes with the 5 stages of grief. Where I come from is its own story as to why I would write an album and put the songs in structure for this, but it's going through anything in life that's difficult. There are the 5 stages of grief that you go through, And that's how the album actually takes its course through it. As you listen through it, it actually goes from the first to the fifth all the way through in order of the 5 stages of grief. And that's why I put the songs in the track listing that they are.
Is it hard to kind of retrieve yourself from the dark places that you must go to sometimes write?
Writing's a really difficult one for me because a lot of people pick up their instrument and they just play. And I do that, but nothing ever comes out. And unfortunately for me, I do have to be in that sort of a place in order to be able to write something that I feel that has meaning. And yeah, it's really difficult. I have genetic depression, and it's a really difficult one to get out of a lot of times, and it can last for a long period of time. And I find that when I'm happy and doing well, I can't write a thing.
Releasing your first full length, are there nerves involved, or is it more of just a joyful experience?
Oh, there's a lot of nerves. It's joyful on one hand, but on another, when you put your heart and soul into something, you just hope that it doesn't collect dust, that other people actually understand and enjoy it and want to be a part of it. It's never been a dream of mine to record an album that I'm really proud of and just have nothing happen with it. Because at the end of the day, it really, you can love your album and think it's the greatest thing ever, but if other people don't enjoy it, nothing's gonna happen for you. So it's a lot of nerves.
Mm-hmm. What emotions do you wish to evoke from your fans when they hear your music?
When I listen to music nowadays, I find that it's very kind of ear candy. It doesn't have any depth. And I really find that in the 60s, 70s, even early 80s, there was emotion that was evoked out of people that was sincerity and honest. Especially in the 70s, people were moved by the music. Like, it was really moved. Nowadays, you don't really find that. And I really hope to move people. Like, I really hope for people to actually listen to a song and hear the depth in it and actually find that it awakens a part in them that they hadn't really found in music lately.
Working on tracks, are you ever surprised at how good they become? Did any of the songs on the album surprise you?
Oh yeah. As much as they surprised me, it's like they took a whole different path, and that mostly surprised me. There's a song on the album called "Be For Me," and that is it's the first track on the album, and I had released that on an EP prior, the synthy guitar rock, and this one starts out with piano, and it's really haunting sounding, and it's the main hook throughout the whole song. And that song, out of all of them, except for When I Was Young, which has a 60-piece orchestra added to it, those ones really blew my mind when they were finished. Really got to a place of in my whole life, I've always wanted to record and music that I've always felt that I've arrived, I'm here, I've done what I've wanted to do, and this is the record that I feel that I've done that with.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything about the creation process this time that you'd want to change next time around?
Absolutely. More time in the studio. This recording was very quick. It was done in 2 parts. About 3 days here and 4 days here at the factory in Vancouver, and the process in which it was done was very, very rushed. So for that, you lose tone quality in drums and everything else, and that's one thing that I would definitely not do again, is rush the recording process in the studio.
And any final thoughts, anything to say to the readers of Popularity?
Well, there's a CD release party on March 15th at the Biltmore, and that is at 8 o'clock, and the CD actually gets released on March 13th all over, everywhere, iTunes, Amazon in Germany, like everywhere.